Welcome to Becoming Limitless. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs who want to optimize their life for freedom. I'm going to teach you how to upgrade your health, money, and mindset so you can have more energy, time freedom, and financial independence. I'm your host, Tanessa Shears. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the Becoming Limitless podcast. Okay, this is the third time I've had to record this intro because I'm sitting outside right now on the deck recording this, and a very large dog came up into our yard and came over to sniff me. And if you don't know me, I am afraid of dogs. They make me very nervous, especially if they're like large ones. And so I just jumped up and ran in the house. So we're going to try this again. I'm recording this episode live right now from Las Terrenas in the Dominican Republic. This is the second city on our 3-city tour. While we're here for just over 3 months in the Dominican Republic, and we just literally got here today. Last night, we traveled from Cabarete, and Cabarete is such a cool city. It's this really neat blend of like fitness and small town and beach and restaurants, and everything is walkable. I absolutely loved it there, and I was sad to leave, but when we got here this morning and we hit the beach, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. I heard a statistic somewhere that it has, here in Las Terrenas, the largest concentration of palm trees in all of the Caribbean. And so I have had so much fun exploring this city just today, and I am so excited for the next 5 weeks that we're going to be here. But let's talk about the podcast episode today. So this episode is actually a super special episode, and I'm bringing you something over the next few weeks that was a workshop that I did straight from inside of my Becoming Limitless program. This workshop, I'd say, would have probably had the biggest impact on clients of all the workshops I've ever run, and seeing how it's manifested out over the last 7-8 months since I recorded it and did this live for them. I just really wanted to share this with you and give you a glimpse of what it's like to deep dive into the tools and the strategies that I give my clients. And hopefully you can use them to help you lead yourself powerfully, especially when life gets wobbly. So this was actually I believe it was a 5-week series that I did called The Courage to Lead. And this is actually the first in that series. And so we're diving into a question that a lot of us face but don't really talk about. It's like, how do you lead yourself when you're in a dip? Like, when you go through a rut, I like to call it a wobble. And it's just like, oh, I don't feel like continuing, with these workouts, or I don't really want to eat this way. I just want to just have a day off. And like, we lose those moments of focus. Yeah, I like to think of those as being in a dip or a rut or a wobble, an energy dip, business dip, emotional dip, all of those things. Like when you feel out of alignment, and it's going to take some serious courage for you to stand up and be like, no, I'm doing this. Like, this is what matters to me. So I'm teaching you a tool that I use. And in this episode, you're going to learn how to recognize those wobbly moments and how to respond in a way that keeps you grounded. And that's what we're going to talk about. And it's about not being perfectly balanced all the time, but how to navigate that misalignment we all face when we want to do something one way and also want to do something. You want to stay up late, but you also want to take care of your health. You want to enjoy dinner out all the time, but you also want to eat healthy, right? Like it's that juxtaposition and how to navigate it, right? So after you listen to this first workshop series episode, you're going to leave with an actionable tool to help you really realign your intentions and your thoughts. And so specifically, we're going to be diving into what I truly believe is the biggest needle mover for my mindset and my ability to get stuff done, whether that has been with business, whether that has been with my health, whether that has been with creating financial independence, traveling half the year, like whatever it is because of this way that I'm going to teach you about how I think in this workshop. And you will be able to apply this with practice no matter what is happening around you. So if you've ever felt like it's really hard to lead yourself on the tough days, or you have even questioned whether you can, this is going to help. And I really hope to show you that leadership and leading yourself isn't about being perfect. It's about being able to choose courage even when it's hard. So, welcome to the Courage to Lead workshop. And this one is all about leading yourself when life wobbles. All right. So, let's jump into the workshop. Enjoy. So, I had a whole download about what the Courage to Lead would be. And I spent probably an hour and a half outlining the whole thing. And then 2 days ago, I rewrote the whole thing. I was like, it's better. I have better ideas. So basically, This workshop came about because for the last like month or two, like I love doing the strategy deep dives and I think strategy is important, but at some point when it becomes like the consistency or like when we're struggling to get past um limiting beliefs or things that we've always believed about ourselves or when we really struggle to get past who we've always been to become that person we need to be, I feel like there is that self leadership, that part that needs to be developed. And so in this accelerator that we're doing this month on the courage to lead, it's really about self leadership and about having that courage to explore why we are the way we are, why we think the way we think, why we feel the way we feel, why we do the things the way we do. Kate's folding laundry. I love it. So that's what it is. It's really like the courage to look inside and figure out what is going on. It's really easy to just be like, it's okay, I just need a new hack. It's okay, I just need a new habit. It's okay, I just need a new something new. But we never really look at why we keep repeating these same cycles of behavior. So the point of this series is to be able to grow your own self-leadership and to be able to make changes and have those actually play out in your results instead of getting stuck in these stop start loops that we get in. So I want to talk a little bit about self-leadership. Um, and the questions we want to start asking more so, it's like it's really easy to have self-leadership when you're motivated, excited, things are going well, right? You're getting results. This is exciting. But how do you lead yourself in a dip? An energy dip, like if you're not feeling very good that week, or you are having a down time, or you're struggling with something, or there's a loss or something going on in the family, or you're fighting with your partner or your kids or whatever it is. Like, how do you lead yourself when you go through an energy dip or an emotional dip, or when you are out of courage? Like, do you find yourself falling apart? Do you just let everything go? Do you give up or do you persist, right? Like, and what is the difference between those of us or the times that we are able to be courageous and the times that we aren't, right? And so we want to be leading from a very grounded place. And I want to just do a little bit of talk on alignment because this will lead into where we're going. So when I think of alignment, I often think of when your intentions and your emotions and your thoughts and your beliefs and how you express yourself, your actions, your intuitions, your feelings, and all of that, when it feels congruent. Because for me, when I'm out of alignment, it doesn't feel good. Like, have you ever, I mean, we're all in business. Have you ever tried to sell something that you're not, like something's off? You're not fully like, I don't know if this is right. I don't know if the price is right. Like you're having conversations about it and it comes across in your sales. It's like when what you think and what you're doing are out of alignment, you're like, come join this. It's amazing. And your brain is like, it's too expensive or it's too cheap or it's whatever. That is out of alignment and that shows up, right, in our energy and it causes us to act or react in different ways. So I wrote down a couple examples of being out of alignment. So, for example, forcing yourself to sit at your desk and do something when it doesn't feel like an extension of who you are and you hate it. Meaning you're showing up being like, here's my business. I hate doing this, right? That kind of thing. Saying, when we say like, I care about my health, I'm going to make this work. I need to change this. I need to start getting better sleep, but you find yourself staying up late all the time, or you're skipping your workouts, or you're overeating garbage food, or you're eating when you're stressed or you're bored, even though sometimes you're just like, this really matters. That's out of alignment. And it kind of shows up as like, what's wrong? Why am I not doing what I want to be doing? Overworking with no space in your calendar, right? For me, living in the masculine all the time feels out of alignment. Like there's no balance in there, right? It's an exhausting way to run the business. And all of this ends up leaving you disconnected with yourself because you find you're doing one thing, but you're feeling another, or you're thinking one way and you're doing another. So we want to find that alignment. And the goal in this is not to feel that alignment all the time, but to understand where it's coming from and what you can do about it so that you can choose to take another route. But if we don't understand the root of why we're doing the things we're doing, we change the wrong things. Most of the time we go to the actions. We're just like, I'll just change what I'm doing without actually understanding that it's coming from a different place. It's coming from a belief system that we need to get to the bottom of. And you can take personal responsibility in this. And I love this, right? That really radical self-awareness. Because naturally we're going to be going through, all of us, something that I like to call the wobble. And it's when those moments when we fall out of alignment. It's like, Okay, I've got my meal planning done for the week. I'm set up. It's good. And then you start going through the week, and all of a sudden you're grabbing takeout more often than you'd want to. That's called the wobble, right? It's like when you have your intentions set and you start wobbling in your commitment to it because of a story going on in our heads. Like, this is so common. I've done it all the time. I'm sure we've all done it. We set intentions, but then in the moment, our brain tries to talk us out of it. That moment, I like to think of as a wobble, like pretending you're walking on a balance beam and you do one of these wobbles. Two things are going to happen here. You're either going to catch yourself or you're going to fall off. And this is a really cool moment. If you are able to catch yourself, this is self-leadership. Decides whether you stay on the balance beam or you fall off. If you are in a wobble and you have a strong ability to self-lead, you are going to be able to lead in an energy dip and an emotional dip and when your brain is acting up, and you're going to be able to stay. So that's what we're looking at, is like, how do you lead yourself in a wobble? Because that's what matters. It's not how we lead ourselves when things are going great. It's like when you experience that like instability, that like, it would be so much easier just to do this. I'm too tired to do this. How do you lead yourself in those moments? Because in those moments, most of the time, there's a fear. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to do this. What if this happens? I'll never get this again. And we feel all these fear, and how we combat that is with courage, right? And that's why this whole thing is called the courage to lead. We want to build our courage to be able to self-lead in those moments where we are in the wobble. And the wobble can be because of old stories, guilt, shame, expectations, so many things. We feel out of balance. But if you are able to build your courage and lead yourself to making decisions that are for you in those moments, that is self-leadership. And that's what we really want to develop, right? Like, be able to be the person we want to be, and be able to say things like, well, you know what, today's really hard, but I'm going to lead myself, right? The question I want you to resonate on over the next 4 to 5 weeks is, how do I lead myself more powerfully in those moments of wobble? How do I lead myself more powerfully in those moments of wobble? This does not mean I make the perfect decision, but if normally I would go and grab McDonald's, maybe it's a bowl of cereal. Do you see how there's upgrades in there? Like, it's like, how can I lead myself to be better, or just make that one improvement? It's that conscious decision to lead and to stay in alignment. Can we maintain our consistency when the energy rises and then it dips? This is what ensures the consistency of your growth, right? And it's going to come with fears, but we have to be brave enough to make those changes. And so a lot of this comes from courage. And we want to create this courage and this desire for more for our life, not from a place of like, that something's wrong with me and I need to create more, but like, how freaking cool is it to be more just because you want to be? Like, how fun is that, right? What if we're meant to be playing on a different level? And the only thing missing is the courage in those moments of wobble to lead ourselves to be the person we want to be. And so this is all leading to a tool that I'm going to be teaching you guys. Now, this tool, I did not invent this tool. It is a tool that I learned in 2015 and have been systematically applying. It's radically changed how I think, and my ability to be neutral, and my ability to take charged situations and decharge them. Is that a word? Anyways, to bring them down. It's the ability to make choices from my brain and not always my emotions. It is going to be the skill that I'm going to be teaching you over the next few weeks. So what it's going to look like is, for the rest of today, I'm going to be teaching the skill, and I'm going to be teaching the remainder of the skill next week. The following week after that is I'm going to be teaching you how to self-coach yourself in those moments of wobble, like how to actually coach yourself as if you were the coach of your own brain. Right? And then we're going to be talking in the following week. We're going to be doing a live intensive workshop where we sit down and actually do this work live together, because I know that some of our brains are like, I love this idea. I'm going to make time for it. Never make time for it. Next week rolls around. We're going to sit together on this call and do it, and then coach on it. And then my plan for the 5th week, because there's 5 weeks in this month, is to leave it for open coaching. And one of the big goals on me teaching this, and we're going to talk about this a bit more in the future weeks, is if you've ever come into a coaching call like this, or a container or a program, and somebody, usually it'll be me, goes,
So what's going on? What do we have to coach on today? And your brain goes, nothing. I think it's fine. I think they're going fine. Like, yeah, things aren't bad, right? And we know that, like, you're right, things aren't going fine or bad. But for me, I want to be giving you guys a tool to make the absolute most of this container so that at any moment you get asked that question, you're like, okay, well, these are the things I've been coaching on this week, and I know how to find these things. And you'll never have to show up to another call again and things are going fine. You don't need coaching because it doesn't mean things have to be going bad. You can also take where we are and grow to be better. But if we're going to make the most out of this and really show that self-leadership, we want to be taking advantages of the moments that we can grow, right? So, like I said, I didn't create this tool, but it is called the model. It's created by Brooke Castillo, and she runs a massively successful company called the Life Coach School. And I've always used this tool and I love it. So I'm going to teach it to you. And it is a tool, like I think, for aligning your goals and your brain and how you think and how you feel and what you do and the results you get. And it is this tool that lets you see what is out of alignment. Is it the way I'm thinking? Is it my feeling? Is it what I'm doing? Or is it my results? What's out of alignment here? Because if we can bring ourselves into alignment, then this is when things are going to flow. This is when things are going to feel fun and easy. Okay, so the first concept I'm going to be teaching, I think, is the most important. And if you can master this one alone, you're going to be miles ahead. And it is a concept called a circumstance. So this is going to be the very first part of what we're going to go through as this 5-part model. So a circumstance is an event, a fact, something that has absolutely no emotional charge. It is neutral. It is a fact. It is sunny out in Vancouver today. I am wearing a striped shirt. Like, these are facts. They're not up to opinion. If everyone in the world was in Vancouver today, it's a blue sky sunny day, we'd all look up and say it's sunny. There'd be nobody that'd be like, no, it's raining. Like, we all agree. That is how you know something is a circumstance. A circumstance is also the subject of our thinking. All right. It is not our thinking and the things going on in our brain. It is the subject of it. Okay. So your ability to find facts and find circumstance when you are emotionally charged in the moments we talked about the wobble, when you're in the wobble, or when you feel a way that you don't like, your ability to find facts in that moment is the most important thing you can do to find objectivity and power. So many people look at circumstances and they see them with their opinions filtered through their opinions and the way they see the world, and that's what they think is a fact. But how many times have you been talking to a friend or a client or someone, and you're talking about a subject and you have completely different opinions on it, right? But you believe it's a fact and they believe it's a fact, and you are both so certain in your belief that it's a fact. That just shows you that there is interpretation and perception in there. And what we want to do is be able to remove our perceptions and experiences when looking at things and just separate out the facts. Because if you can separate out facts, you will take out the emotional charge from the situation. Because think about anytime we emotionally eat, we feel exhausted and stay up late. Anytime we skip workouts, anything like that, it is usually coming from a place where there's an emotion, right? And we feel something or we think something, we assume it's a fact, and so we act accordingly. I want you to be able to see that when your brain interprets a circumstance, what comes after that is always a choice. It is so powerful to be able to see this as a neutral. Your job from here forward is to always find facts before you make decisions. And we do our best to find facts before we react to things. All right? Because you can't lead yourself if you're reacting to your own opinions, because you'll always think you're right. You're right. I'm so stressed out. I should eat. You're right. I'm exhausted. I should stay up late. You're right. They invited me out. I should say yes, even though I want to stay home, or I want to stay home, even though I should say all of that. None of that is fact. So you're making an opinion that is not in self-leadership, right? You want to be able to choose those thoughts. Here are some really common circumstances with entrepreneurs that are working on their health. All right. Here are some examples of circumstances. My bedtime. It could be, it's a fact. I mean, if your bedtime is 10 p.m., that's a subject of your thinking, right? Getting out of bed at 7 a.m. making a weekly plan, exercising, how long you have been working on your health. It's a neutral circumstance, right? Some people would say it's so long. Some people say I just got started. It really just depends who you ask because everyone has a different interpretation of what that amount of time working on your health is. Is it long? Is it short? Depends. If you're talking to someone when they're 90 or someone who's 20, it makes a big difference, right? Daily step count, your weight, kids as a whole subject, pets, your goal, your health, what you ate today, 8 hours of sleep. That's just a subject you could have thoughts about, right? I might think that's not enough. You might think, how do you get that much sleep? Who needs that much sleep, right? It's neutral. Meditation, your work hours, deadlines in your business. Here's I'm gonna save this one for last. Your first 3 months in the Becoming Limitless program, you could have all kinds of thoughts about it that are different from other people, right? Here's one. Something specific someone says. They said, I don't like your hair. Our brains love to say, that's mean. It's actually neutral. Our brains think that's mean because if I don't care or I actually like my hair, then I don't care what they say. It has no emotional charge. Whereas somebody might go into a spiral about it. See how that's different? So something someone says is always a neutral circumstance. Always. It is not mean. It is not nice. It is not helpful. It is not rude. It is not aggressive. It just is a sentence of words coming out of their mouth. Neutral. Something someone does. They showed up late. They don't support me. All of these things are neutral circumstances, what people say and what people do. So, do we have a pretty good grasp so far on what a circumstance is? It is a subject of our thinking, it is a fact, and you have to ask yourself this: would everyone in the world agree with me that this is a fact? And if you can answer yes, it is a circumstance. And if you answer no, it's probably our next thing. And the second thing and last we're going to touch on today, which is our brain's sentences. You can call them thoughts, you can call them beliefs, whatever you want. That is the second layer that we're going to be going over today. And then we're going to cut here and we're going to do the rest next week. So we have sentences that run through our head all day long, and they are obviously a reflection of people we've been around, who raised us, things we believe, things we read, things our friends told us, wanting to fit in. Like all of our thoughts are a collection and a perception of our life's experience, right? Nothing in your head is a fact. Nothing, right? A circumstance is a fact, and then we have a thought about it. We have a sentence that runs through our head. So if you are able to see how your brain makes sentences about circumstances, you will now start to see why things start to feel very charged, right? Because when our brain has a sentence about something that is a circumstance, what ends up happening is it makes us feel something. We're going to talk about that next week. And feelings make us do things, and the things we do create our results. This is why it is so important to start with our brain, because this is what's creating everything else. And so if we can have that leadership and our ability to be like, oh, wait a second, here are the facts. How do I want to think about these things is so much different than letting your default brain run wild. Because our default brain running wild wants us, don't make any changes. That sounds unsafe. You should just hang out. Don't like do anything new. Just status quo, status quo. That sounds dangerous. Also, we shouldn't do that. Like that's your brain's job. And you have decided to run a business. So you're directly throwing in the face of your brain is like, ha, let's go. I'm going to give you lack of safety. I'm going to give you discomfort. I'm going to give you all, like, there's going to be lots of change, everything you hate. So naturally, we get a lot of that stirred up. Now, what we've decided to do is take this business and this life we have and build our health on top of it. And your brain probably had a whole bunch of thoughts like, where am I going to fit this in? I've never been able to do it before. This is, I can't do this. What about this? What about this? And so naturally, your brain is going to have a lot of thoughts. And what we don't want to do is let that default programming run every time you go to work on your health. Your brain's like, this is dangerous. We don't want to do this. I need you to be able to start seeing that like, oh, wait a second. This is default programming. I actually can choose my thoughts. I have just been choosing these ones so long that they're naturally what fall out of my brain when I think about something. But what if we can start to actually be more conscious of these thoughts? Because when we're in that moment, like I talked about of the wobble, you falling off is your brain's default programming being the program you run. In that moment, if you can recognize, oh, I'm wobbling. Okay, wait a second. What's actually going on here? What are the facts? What am I thinking? What do I want to be thinking? That is what determines self-leadership. If you are able to, in those moments of wobble, when you feel the emotional dip, the energy dip, the I don't want tos, be able to recognize your brain is just running old stories to keep you safe. It does not want you to reach your goal, but you do. So self-leadership is being able to be like, my brain is powerful and I'm going to use it the way I want my life to be and not the way it's always been, if you want that change. So I'm going to give you an idea of thoughts that I have all the time, but just all kinds of thoughts that we might be thinking. So a really good example is it's working. I'm figuring it out. I'm a great role model. It's good enough. It's not working. I'm lazy. I'm behind right now. I should be further along. I don't know how to do this. This is hard. This is hard and it's okay. This is a fun experiment. Nothing ever works for me. This is just the beginning. My business depends on my health. And you can even see as I go through those, naturally, your brain either goes like yes or no to those, right? Like you can feel the natural thing. Now, those are just a couple of thoughts. Imagine if your brain is throwing at you tens of thousands of thoughts a day, and they are all to the tune of it's not working, you're lazy, why are we even trying? It's hard. And we just let it because we don't know that we have the option to lead. And we start to see like, oh, maybe the consistency thing I've been struggling with isn't something that's wrong with me. Maybe it's just I have this series of sentences that run and I believe them and it makes me feel terrible. And when I feel terrible, who wants to do anything positive? And I hide and I retreat and I don't show up the way I want to. And then we look at our results and they're not exactly what they want to be in this specific area that you're struggling with consistency. Or maybe they are, but you know that there's room for it could feel better. It could look different, right? This maybe is a lesser version of what you know you could create. And so this has just been the most powerful work. And we're going to go into the feeling side of things and the what we do and don't do. But what if we could take this week and start noticing that when we are feeling something we don't want to feel, or we are struggling with something specifically. And I know you can probably think of something right now where maybe it's a habit you're trying to implement, a strategy with your health, something in your business, you're trying to implement it right now. Can you identify what the circumstance is? Maybe it's business, maybe it's bedtime, maybe it's vegetables at lunch. Take a second and just ask yourself, if I give myself that subject, what do I think? I want to do it. It's hard. I hate my DMs. I don't like broccoli. I'm missing out. This is hard. I feel anxiety when I do this. Because I know for me, like one that I'm constantly coaching myself on is DM conversations. So, some example, I'm an introvert. And for me, when my brain sees that little red notification thing, my brain goes, oh my gosh, output of energy. My brain starts spiraling on it. If I do not catch it, that is where danger starts to happen, right? That is where I start retreating. And I have to be very aware of that. And you start to find your places where you wobble most often. You can probably think of a couple now. I wobble here, I wobble here, and I wobble here. I would bet if you put what the circumstance is and did a brain dump on your thoughts, write down all the sentences you have about it, good and bad. I bet you will see very clearly why you are creating inconsistency. Because remember, if you let the default programming run, you will likely fall off or experience inconsistency. And if you choose the programming you want to run, choose the sentences in your head, you will create a different result. So that is what I want you to do for this week. Just that. Start seeing things and also hearing other people talk and notice how many things they say as facts that are just opinions. Oh, that guy's so rude. I love that, right? Like, Oh, they made me feel like this. No, they didn't make you feel anything. Their words are a neutral circumstance and you had a thought about them. That is the goal for this week. Can you start to see everything as what it is, meaning for facts? And can you then take the emotional charge out on them by seeing them as neutral?
Hey, before we go, did you know that I write a blog called The Freedom Diaries? It's basically documenting the story of how my husband and I reached financial independence at 33, and now we're traveling the world part time with our two little girls. I write on travel and mindset and financial independence and money and all of that kind of stuff, and it's truly from the heart and just a completely joy and for fun project. If you want to check that out and subscribe or just read it for free, I'll leave a link to The Freedom Diaries in the description below.